Welcome, Wargamers. Join your hosts, Balko and Monty, two Canadian wargaming enthusiasts, as we explore all aspects of tabletop wargaming. We roll dice, talk tactics, share hobby hacks, and explore new tabletop systems, all on the Trident Wargaming podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Trident Wargaming episode of Bolt Action. So, with me today is my battle buddy, Jason.
Well, howdy.
Obviously, you're doing good, as we were talking off air there.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. So today's episode is kind of a relaxed episode where kind of talking about the hobby and projects that we're into and new things that come up, rest of the year here, plus ideas and plans for the new year. So we're just going to kind of yammer a little bit and explain some things and go into little details with armies and whatnot. But first, the hobby front, as always. So, Jason, what you got going right now?
What do I got going on? Well, I very smartly saw a new shiny. And then bought it. And now I'm working on that.
Very nice.
Some British 8th Army models.
Okay.
And because I picked up the Gentleman's War set and the HQ for the DAC and the 8th Army just to get started, and a Matilda and a 25-pounder with the quad transport there.
Very nice.
To get her going. Anyway, I started up on those guys. Did some test models.
Oh, you already did some test models.
Yeah, I'm about 4 deep right now.
Nice.
I'm planning on doing, I'm going to say it wrong, Mallory.
Okay.
Battalion, the 28th New Zealand Battalion, I believe.
Okay.
And planning on doing those guys up. So I'm trying to get kind of skin tones right and the uniform right in these test models. Trying a couple of different techniques. So the test models are they vary a little bit in their appearance because I'm trying different techniques until I can find something that I can, smash out for the rest of the force. And then these guys will just be the crazy weirdos that are lurking in the background of other squads.
The first guys to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first minis. Yeah. Well,
So I've been working on.
If you do want to replace them afterwards, just let me know. I'm sure I have extras. So
Yeah.
But
those, and then also working on a bit on epic Civil War guys. Since the last time we did a podcast here.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah, we had. I can't remember if we mentioned in the last podcast, but we had a large ACW battle there at your place there on the was it the 6x10 foot board?
Yep.
So that was a lot of fun. That definitely piqued the interest a bit. Been going through the rule book myself, just kind of getting a little bit more familiarized with the actual rules for black powder. So which they're not too bad.
It was fun. No, I like the rule set. They're nice and easy, really, to remember. There's not a whole lot to them, especially compared to some other systems of that era. It can be some of the games can be a little, rules heavy for guys that are used to the snappier games like Bolt Action. So it's kind of nice, to ease into the rank and file with a fairly simple rule set. But I think it's complex enough. At least for me, it offered enough, kind of tactical enough of a tactical challenge, and you mopped the floor with me. So you jerk.
I don't know. The left flank didn't work out so well with that charge. So it's
That's true.
it's interesting in that game how you think you're gonna get the charge off, and you think it's gonna really impact the opponent, but then you realize, okay, he's going through the rules. You get to shoot me first, and then you have supporting units behind you, and I have none.
Yeah,
It's not good. I mean, if it favors in my way, then it's really not good for you, but it's pretty hard to lose when you have all the support in the background, right?
yeah.
So, but it's cool. It's a simple game mechanics, and they've put in the morale and the support units, kind of a little bit like old Warhammer Fantasy in a sense, but not as super detailed as in, here's my magic weapon.
Yeah.
So,
And you're not taking off models.
Yeah.
They have a pretty simple mechanic for casualties and how that works, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty, even like when we played like 28 mil black powder there with Mike and Andrew, like that was a lot of fun having everybody across the board, right? So
Totally.
but a lot of miniatures, but yeah, no, it's good. It's a good game. I really enjoyed it. I want to play more of it for sure. And then of course, with the hobby, like that's actually on my desk too, is trying to get some stuff built for that. So, for myself, like as we're going to talk a little later with some of the armies too, but it's kind of the same grind, man. Like right now, I'm doing some hobby work for 2 tables that I kind of want to get. I have designed for the upcoming event, the tank war event that I'm going to be doing in November. So I'm in the process of building like tons of hedgerows and bocage. So I have an idea of how to do them. I've watched some videos. Geek Gaming has a lot of good videos on stuff like that too, and terrain. And I have some of their product to try to use. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, finally got to use my hot wire bandsaw cutter kind of thing after owning it for 2 years.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the one that you've owned for like 2 years or whatever.
Yeah,
I can't wait to crack this out.
Yeah, no, it was good. Easy to assemble, and put it on the table in the garage, and just started burning away foam. And yeah, it works. It was great. I had my measurements, cut all my blocks, and then realized, oh, okay, you know what? I cut these, like, these are way too wide. Let's trim down, half an inch. So
Sweet.
So that'll be kind of some of the projects I'll be working on. Army wise, still plugging away at whatever German forces that I have on my table. And of course, soon to be, there'll be other German forces by the looks of it. Yeah, especially with like the Gentleman's War that came out. I got a box set of that as well, and did an unboxing for it. So if you're interested in that set, check it out in our unboxing videos. And honestly, that set I think is probably their best set, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a great starter set. Yeah, I said earlier here that I picked it up.
Yeah,
I really was pretty impressed. I like the two. I built the what do you call it? The Humber.
Yeah.
I did the Mark II variant, but that model went together like a beauty. It looks great. And just looking at the 222 for the Germans, it looks good. Like it's not built yet, but if it goes together like the Humber, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, the kits are looking really good in that set. Like I have that set, but I actually own both starter sets for the 8th Army and the DAC. And the models in those sets are really, really nice. So again, it's the new style arm miniatures, right? Like the arms are, I believe, molded with the gun.
Yep.
So makes for easy assembly, and you can mix and match kind of bodies with arms and make some poses. Yeah, sure, you're limited a little bit compared to like having, putting in the rifles, but that is so,
finicky. And
very finicky.
I will tell you too, I know the rifles aren't to scale anymore.
Yeah.
That they're doing it this way. They're a bit bigger than they should be. Yeah. But hallelujah. Like, I can't tell you how many rifles I have snapped off of my old models.
Well, that's my Soviets, right?
Yeah, they're snapped off or broken half even. These being just that much thicker, I don't care that they look a little bit big. They're sturdy. Yeah, so they're not going to break like the Soviets.
Well, and that's the thing too, and it's like that was my big thing with a lot of new sets, because I have, as you guys know, I have a lot of sets, but I actually have a lot of older sets as well. The Soviets, the British. I actually have a starter set or two of the old Americans.
That's
right?
So many.
Like there's a lot there, right? And like even Bill, when he got into bolt action, he had bought the American box set, and not a box starter set, but like the actual infantry box set, and he was starting to build them, and he realized that, wow, these are like really, really fragile. And I told him, I go, what set did you get? And he told me which set I get. I go, oh, well, if you want, I have a freebie, like I got a free box here of the new set. Why don't you take these, trade them to me, build them? Because I haven't gone to my Americans yet in a long time. I'm not worried about which miniature is which, right? But I told him, well, take these and see if you like these. And sure enough, he started building. He's like, these are so much better, right? So like he got that going, and I still have a lot of new ones like that. But yeah, it's just it sucks because like the Soviets was my first army, and I have like a small pile that's being built up of soldiers with broken rifles, right? Or the LMG, the barrel is so thin that it snaps, right? So great, don't get me wrong, great miniatures for what they are, but obviously a little bit of quality control has taken effect, and they probably realized we need some new molds and we need some more durable molds, right? Hence why, as I was, doing my French army, it's 99% of it is pewter, and I'm okay with that. But their rifles are just as thin.
Yeah.
Right?
And thin rifles with the pewter is not a good...
Exactly. So I ended up looking at Atlantic Wargames, and they came out with a French kit that is good for World War I and World War II.
You meant, by the way, Wargames Atlantic.
Yeah, did I switch it?
You switched it.
I always do that. There you go. Jason got me on that one. Yep. So good catch. It's been a while actually since I've looked at their site and stuff. But either way, they're great miniatures. They fit the scale of majority of bolt action Warlord Games miniatures, right? So when you put them side to side by the pewters, you can tell they're a little bit thicker. So I'm hoping that, as Warlord Games has mentioned, that they will be doing French plastics, which I think is great, that they're going to go that same route of the thicker miniature, right, with the arms and all that stuff and the guns. So long story short,
Yeah.
check the sets out, all that stuff, and see what you prefer, right? Some guys like being able to pose a little bit more. So
I will say I did love having the weapon sprue. Not necessarily for the models, but I did like being able to, throw a rifle on a guy's back or put it down next to the guy operating the mortar, or to do a little vignette, or it's kind of nice having him for those type deals. But yeah, for on the models, it was a pain in the butt to make work. Which arms can actually friggin' hold the thing.
Yep.
And then having them just snap or pop out of the hands, if you didn't quite get enough glue in the hands, to make it work.
Yeah, I've had that a lot of times, and that was my first big mistake. So any new listeners or anybody new to bolt action, if you are ever gotten like a set that the gun is separate from the arms, I repeat, do not cut everything off the sprue like I did. Right? No. There's a nice little chart that, like a picture pamphlet that pairs up everything, so makes life a lot easier. So
yeah. Yep. Big time. I did the same mistake.
I think everybody does. So
yeah, the same PTSD so far as that goes.
But yeah, that's a little shop talk about sets and stuff. But army wise, it's interesting because we've had a lot of good games at the shop lately, and there's been a few new players actually coming down and playing games, and people are kind of starting to look at different armies. Some returning older players, vets, have come back, which is great. And then just seeing kind of where everybody is, playing and what they're doing with armies, kind of has sparked a little bit with us too, right? Like Gentleman's War comes out, and Jason, you're falling in love with certain miniatures, and of course we're bantering at each other about, oh, if you do this, I'm going to do this, and let's do the opposite force, right?
Peer pressure.
Right? Yeah, just like offline, Jason, even the other night there, Jason was mentioning Matildas, right?
Yep.
And I told him, well, I bought a 3-pack of Matildas, right? A while back. It was just like, literally, it was for absolutely nothing. It was just, I had bought the 8th Army box set, and I went into the shop ready to spend some money, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get 3 of those. That box set looks good. Let's buy it. Right? Oh, this is why I bought it. I know why I bought it. So they had the 3 box set, and then they had the old box set, which was the resin.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of looked at the cost, and I was like, the box set with the troop, the 3 for Tank War, was a way better deal. So ended up buying that instead. Now I have 3. Well,
so it's that old
soon to be 2. So
it's that old adage of, look how much I saved, not how much I spent.
In my world, there is no. It's just get it. Just arm reaches out shiny.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like different armies, looking at different theaters, kind of thing.
Well, honestly, what kind of got me to doing the 8th Army, because I wasn't necessarily sold on them, is I really want to do Basiglieri.
Yes.
When they're out. And I was like, well, I'll get the Gentleman's War set, because I like having the sets. I don't know why, it's silly maybe, but I like having all the sets. It looked cool. I used the 222 a lot in my German army that I have now, and I have a couple different German armies, so I could do it for one of those. But then I was looking at the miniatures, like, well, if I'm doing the Basigliere, I might as well have the opposite force for them.
Yeah.
And then I started going down the rabbit hole, like, well, what do I do? Because I was really considering doing Sikh troops.
Yeah.
And kind of started going there. And then I randomly was like, I randomly remembered seeing footage of the Maori battalion doing the haka in Egypt for the king.
Okay.
And it was filmed, like you can see the footage, and it's just a thing that I remember. You know, you have those images of
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably remember. Like, as soon as you see a photo or a still of it, you'll remember. Oh yeah, I've seen this like 1,000 times, and it's a super cool image. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And then I started looking into them, and I mean, they're pretty badass.
Yep.
You know, famous for bayonet charges and stuff, and they have their own rules in the Western Desert Book. So like, okay, now I'm doing a whole army before the army plan.
No, that's great. That's kind of reaches out to the passion, right? You know, as a hobbyist and a player alike as well, and historian. Yeah. Like you love that stuff.
Totally, and that's a question probably you get every time somebody starts looking at the game. Is they're like, well, how do I pick what army? Yeah. Right? Or how do I pick the unit, like the models? And I'm always like, what do you think is cool? Like, what do you like? Like, don't pick the best.
Yeah.
Right? Don't pick it because of, unless you think the rule is cool, but it has to be something that you're
like. Exactly.
And it's just, I came across that image popped in my head, and I'm instantly like, I don't care if I read the rules and find out that they're the crappiest unit in the game. I'm going to have them, and I'm going to play them, and they're going to be awesome for me.
See, and that's like, I'm in a sense the same way, right? Like, I will pick an army or a unit or whatever the case, a warband, because of how it looks first and foremost, right? Obviously, I play a lot of games. I've been a GW kid for many, many years. Jason was too, and then of course stumble into Warlord games and bolt action, and it's like, wow, World War II. Like, I love this stuff. What am I going to start with? What did I really like? And even now, it's like, still love the original army, like the Soviets that I picked up and played, right? Mm-hmm. Just the other day, like, shop owner came up to me and Brennan there, the newer player, he's getting into it. He's trying to get the hang of the game, and I'm playing and teaching him the game, and he's playing Soviets, and Leanne made a comment and kind of jokingly, whatever, and Brandon actually started spouting off some history and stuff, right? Which I was like, oh, that's cool. He's kind of actually looked into stuff. He's checking stuff out, right? But he picked an army that he really liked, and he got into it, and for the amount of points that he has, he's almost fully painted, which is great. But again, looking into all the options out there, I want to play Germany. Okay. What do you want to play as Germany? You want to play the regular force? Or you have options, right?
You got 40 or 50 different lists.
Well, exactly. And anytime, being the sergeant at the shop, anytime I get introduced to somebody who's interested into the game, first and foremost, I try to take them to the shelf area and say, there's a huge selection. So, and the beautiful thing about bolt action is each army is very, very, very similar for equipment, and style of units and stuff like that, right? Like you said, you could make the shittiest army out there because you think these units are really cool, and you want to play them, and you have models, and you spent time painting them up, and you want to feel them, but they're not that great. Well, it's not really like that in bolt action, right? I mean, just because this infantry squad is, inexperienced compared to this infantry squad that's regular, yes, your numbers are a little bit worse, but it's a matter of how you play them. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
So it's not a, in my eyes, it's not, the fact that these units are crap or whatever, but yeah, you know what? I want to take the, anti-tank dog guys for the Soviets. Why? Well, because it's, it's an obscure unit. You don't see it on the board very often. And I like to paint up little chow wows. You know what I mean? Like,
totally, 1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you can't. Yes, there are combinations. I mean, you can make the soup to be as spicy as you want, but even that spicy soup, against a thin broth.
Yeah,
they're both in the same soup competition. Do you know what I mean? No, nobody does, because that was a terrible analogy. But basically,
we're talking
reiterating what you said. Yeah, it's all about soup. Soup and Nuts, our new podcast.
Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, so many good models out there to choose from, especially when you're building armies. And there's a lot of guys like Brady. You played him just your last game. You played Brady.
Yeah, it was a good game.
And he's put in some good thought about the background of his army.
Right? I didn't even know that was a friggin' thing. I've never come across that motor.
The theater selector?
Platoon. I just skipped over it or didn't remember it or whatever. But holy God, he played it with light mortars, and it was pretty decent. And I think he might switch to medium mortars, and that's going to be just raining hot hell on people.
Yeah, and
in a fun way.
And I know, I've talked with Brady about the armies, and he sends me lists and whatnot, and kind of go over them and look at them, and he's had some good questions, like, do I really need a tank? Do I how many platoons do people usually use? That kind of thing. He asks a lot of questions, and he does a lot of digging for information on armies and composition and all that stuff too, for in actual history, right? So he I can't remember the actual regiment or whatever that he picked, or the platoon that he picked, but he was really getting involved in it and trying to build his force around it. So it was good to see that, because I know Brady does play a lot of other systems, and he's really a really good player at other systems and whatnot, and can really build some strong armies and stuff. So but to see him do this and still have a great time, because with bolt action, for us in our community, it's smash some lists together, have some fun, make some sound effects as you're moving your tank, and
I still think you should suffer penalties if you don't, but
have a good time with it, right? We do. So but it's great. It's good, and obviously took time to looking into the armies, and I think a lot of the players do that, or try to do it, stuff like that. I've had the other guy there, Jordan. He came up to me, and he wanted to show me his list, and it was a Japanese army, and we haven't had Japanese army in our group there for a long time. So he's showing it to me, and it's a mass amount of bodies. It's not the spearmen, the bamboo spearmen, but he's got veterans and big, large blocks of infantry, and really no anti-tank weaponry, but his units have anti-tank grenades, so essentially he could, swarm a tank.
Yeah.
And then he had some ambushers that he gets, which are little 5-man teams, which are pretty neat for getting closer to an objective or something like that, right? Strategically deploy him. So he had a theme, and he had an idea to his army, which was pretty cool. It's definitely a swarm, but it's a fun army to throw out there and play, right? So, and the one thing, it was like, yeah, I'd play against this army, looks like it'd be interesting and challenging to go against. So let me just roll up my howitzers to the front and put some splash damage on those big squads, right? So,
or more accurately, miss.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's or more inaccurately, perhaps. Is better.
But going forward, like, as you explained, kind of deciding on like what you're doing for your army, what kind of force or what force from history. Myself, I haven't really gone to that point of, deep diving into, a specific unit or whatever. I kind of more of go just in the theater, the area or a certain battle kind of thing, I think my Winter Germans were more of at the end. Paulus is his army when they're surrounded. So it's kind of one of those armies where it's in Stalingrad and this is it. Hell or high water. Fight your way out or pretty much die, right? So, but I've taken it to the point of, right, this, this force, this is what they're equipped with. So they don't have certain equipment. They don't have the assault rifles yet, kind of thing. So they still have rifles. They still, they don't have some of the anti-tank weapons. There's still a lot of like light howitzers and stuff in the army, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I try to keep the army in that era, and then just kind of built it. And then also it was nice because that specific army, if I wanted to play it, of course, late war, in Bastogne or whatever, all I have to do is start adding other miniatures to it, and now, or replace other miniatures, and now I'm in that year between this and this, right? So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And of course it was a winter army, right? Which I've never actually really done before. So, and it was turning out pretty good. Some new techniques to paint it and this and that. So, but now that Jason is doing the Desert Rats, or no, you're not doing the Desert Rats. You're doing the Maui, and maybe the Italians. You were saying. I'm probably going to do the actual Desert Rats as I'm looking back at my box sets.
Jeez, what do you get? British Army, Japanese Army, Fallschirmjäger Army, Marine Army. Those are just your armies that I can see.
Yeah.
Shame. This is where you input a clip from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, I'll throw her in there. Ding ding ding. Yeah. So, but yeah, lots of options. And it's the paint job will be different too, right? More of the desert and the tans and whatnot would be pretty neat. Probably do up some like Panzer IIIs, right?
Sweet.
Stuff like that.
That's kind of part of it too. Is it's just different than stuff I've done before too. Like you, I was doing Winter Soviets.
Yeah.
But so, all my stuff before has been kind of, European theater.
Yeah.
And then into the Winter Soviets, now into some desert action. And then I got to do something jungly, I guess, after this. But
yeah, Pacific wise, I'm sure next year I'll probably try getting something going for that as well. Get some terrain and whatnot sourced out and built and done for that. Make some island hopping, Maybe,
I do have a lot of. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I do have a lot of desert terrain.
Yes.
That I made up already, so
nice.
I do have a good start on that, and I ordered some mats.
That's right. You were saying that.
So we should be able to get some desert battle in here or two in between our upcoming Stalingrad battles.
Yes, that's part of the old projects.
Yeah.
We still have to do those battles for sure.
Yeah, I'm still committed. I still want to get through. We already did most of the city fight scenery anyway, and we have yet to fight in the city.
Yes, true.
And we have most of the forces we need anyway. A little tweaking here or there, but now we did all the hard work, so I want to do the
fun work.
I want to do the fun work now. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's exactly it.
But yeah, playing through those scenarios, and then I'm kind of thinking, and I'm just spitballing. You can punch me in the groin here, but maybe after this project, by the time we're done the Soviets, we'll be done our Soviet campaign there. Stalingrad will be hitting into a new campaign, possibly desert.
Yeah, no, for sure. That would be a good book to go through.
Yeah,
we were talking about. We both picked the book up, but we really didn't deep dive into it.
Yeah, like I read through it or skimmed, but I had at the time no idea of when I was going to actually do a desert army, so it didn't. Yeah, it's fun to read. I own all the books, so I just like having them. But yeah, I never deep dived into it, and then flipping through, like, oh, the Maori, oh, that's what I want to do. What do they have for that? Oh, they have their own rules. Sweet, holy crap, they got all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and having a lot of fun digging into this book. Some of the rules for fighting in a desert seem pretty fun. You can add pretty easily to any game you're playing if you're playing in any desert. Like the what the heck do they call that? The rule basically for counting for the heat fatigue you can suffer.
Okay, yeah.
So every time you issue a run order to your troops, you roll a dice. You roll a d6, and if you roll less than the current game turn number, your unit is suffering from heat fatigue, or exhaustion, or suffering from dehydration, and counts as having run, but can only move 6 inches. Okay, so that means you can't shoot, and you can't go over obstacles, or not that, desert, that's probably not a big deal, but you count as running for all purposes except for you only move 6. Which I kind of like. As the game goes on, your guys are getting tired out. It's a different thing to, a little monkey wrench in the works. I kind of like that rule. And then they have the sand rule, where sand gets into everything. So basically, if you suffer one or more pin markers as a result of an enemy attack, you automatically suffer one further pin in addition to the pin you suffered. So that really, you get a unit, clips you with a pin, and all of a sudden you got a second pin, or God forbid you get hit with HE or something that causes multiple pins.
Could ruin your day.
You start taking that plus another one. So I kind of like that. And being in the desert, there's going to be hopefully, quite a bit of fairly open spaces. Obviously, undulation should be part of the terrain, and rocky outcrops, and maybe some desert fauna, or maybe you're playing in a town. But mostly, there's going to be open areas. Yeah. And I just think trying to run from cover to cover or something, and then getting stuck. I mean, it would obviously suck at the time, but I feel like it's just cinematic. It really brings the image to my mind of guys huffing and puffing in that hot sun, like doing that extra exertion. And it would make it feel like you don't often get excited that you're able to run. You'd be like, yeah, 6th turn, and these guys ran from here to there. Awesome job, guys.
Well, it puts a different twist to the game, right? And kind of gives you the feel of fighting in that, area of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'd really have to move early in the game, too.
Yeah.
You can't hold back. Like, if you're going for an objective, you can't hold back, like, I'm going to soften them up or something like that. Because by the time you want to move in on the objective, you're not going to be able to move. So you got to move early.
And fast. Well, the turn's going to go against you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are absolutely right. Like, if your units aren't hustling, you might have to make that decision of putting yourself out in the open in a critical spot where your opponent might take full advantage of it. Right.
Yeah. I like that. Anytime you have to make a decision that you probably normally wouldn't, I love that. I love it. I know. And P.S. Usually that screws me, but I still enjoy it. That little twist on the game.
They've done pretty good with these campaign books as of late, with all these extra little special rules.
Totally, and that's sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
I was just going to say, some of them make things like a lot tougher, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think it's in the Stalingrad book with the rubble and stuff like that, and like increases the modifiers to hit, or you count as down, but you're not actually down. And and then you can go down to give you the other +2, so that's essentially +4 right off the bat.
That rebel rule is great.
Yeah, but once you realize the units that are actually in that rubble, it starts to make sense, because it's like, okay, well, you literally have like the worst. You literally have like the workers. In that mission that we did, that you had it right. Like, the workers have just the worst stats, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they needed something, so that's what they did. And then as a player, you deploy them in there, and they hold their own. They're not killing things. They might get a couple wounds here and there, or make a pin here and there, but they're taking shots, and it forces the game, and it forces the opponent to, like, in that specific mission, crossing the bridge and getting to the other side was the mission. So It forces the German player to get going and get over the bridges, because if not, you're getting delayed, and you're getting stumped. And as we've seen, as my tank blew up on the bridge. So, but yeah, like, going back to the Western Desert, like, there's a lot of stuff in that book. The scenarios are going to be different, and there's tons of scenarios too. It's going to reignite these battles, right?
Totally.
Playing, and I definitely suggest that to players. If you're getting into bolt action and you've got a whole bunch of games underneath your belt of like the generic 12 missions, find a campaign book that suits, that maybe your army's involved in. And if you have buddies or a local group, I definitely suggest trying out these campaign books. They've got a lot of great stuff in it, a lot of new theater selectors, missions, scenarios, special rules that just make the games a lot more intense and enticing to play and deep, right? Like, as Jason explained with these special rules for the desert, it's like, this is the kind of shit that happened back then in fighting in desert conditions. It still happens, right? Like,
and a cool thing you can do too, because the campaigns are great and I love them, but I do appreciate that some of the scenarios are hard to make work unless you have, kind of the selectors specific for it, or some of them require a lot of points or a bigger table or a lot of time.
Yeah.
But one thing you can do is, why couldn't you use these desert rules anytime you're playing in a desert? Just playing one of the 12 scenarios, but add the desert rules, or add the rubble rule if you're playing in a city. It doesn't have to be Stalingrad. Rubble is rubble. Or, and all of the books at the usually near the end, they have kind of a summary of, kind of rules that apply to this setting. And some of them are repeats, like fortifications and mud and whatever.
Ice, snow, all that stuff.
Yeah. Throw some of those rules in. Play a regular game. Play with your buddy what you have. Play your 1,000-point game. Roll your scenarios like normal, but decide, you know what? We happen to set up, kind of a village. Let's decide that if you're in a village, most of it's ruined, those city streets are all rubbly. You get the rubble rule, or, chuck them in, make your games more interesting, make them harder.
Well, there's even, the one rule of where your tank could literally sink into the basement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, as you're driving over top of pretty much these ruins. So, there's stuff like that you can do, spice up your games, make them interesting. And that's a great idea, actually, that you pointed out. So,
and that's something you can even do in a pickup game fairly easily, as long as both people are on board. And probably if the guy's, too antsy about adding a simple rule for funsies, maybe not the funnest opponent to play anyway. But
I'd be you'd have to review some of these rules if you were going to put them into a tournament.
Yeah, a tournament would be a bit different.
Yeah,
that would be harder.
But doing an event where there's a narrative or a historical feel to it, or an escalation or a de-escalation kind of event, why not put? You don't have to put them all. Just maybe put a couple, something that makes sense in the battle zone that you're fighting in, stuff like that, right? There's a lot of good ones. There's they've put some time and effort into this stuff and really wanted to make bolt action feel like, those battles. So, yeah, definitely try it out. That's a great idea. We should even try doing that at the shop. Just, what?
Yeah, but why not? This is the city table.
Yeah, exactly, right? There's 4 guys playing. Okay, that there, that, just do it. If they want to use it, cool. If not, whatever, right? But it's a good idea. I'm gonna have to put those into my notes for events. So, and speaking of events, this last little segment here we have. So coming up in November, I have planned to do another grand tank war battle.
Excellent.
So it was a pretty big hit last time. It's going to be a little different this time, though. We're actually going to do Go ahead, Jay.
Last time was the doubles tournament, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It was a double tank war.
Or a double event.
Yeah. So, which is really good. People had a lot of fun. I think they got...
Yeah, it was good. It was fun, yeah.
It was two or three games, was it?
It was three games, I think,
games. Yeah. So, with the point limit, it was, smaller points, but you had teammates and things kind of went fairly decently and quickly. This one, I want to make it two sides and a large battle across the board. Right?
Sweet.
So there's a few things I do have to figure out. Kind of, the order dice drawing, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about it where I'd have to see, and I might have enough dice to do this kind of thing. Everybody has a different colored dice for their orders.
Mm-hmm.
And then you draw multiple on a turn, like multiple draws for one draw kind of thing. And then you would figure out pretty much what side has the initiative. So this would react first kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or this would act first. So just little things like that, because once you start getting multiple players in a game of bolt action, things start getting a little bit trickier in that sense.
Yeah, because you want to keep the action moving.
Yeah.
But you also got to keep the, kind of feel of the random activation.
Yeah. And the thing that the two I thought about, I was like, okay, well, just make two colors each side, right? But then, you draw two dice for your side. Okay, well, which two players are going to activate? You got five players on your side. You know what I mean? So that's where I thought the colored, everybody has their own colored for their dice that they can put in, but I'd have to see who has what and if there's stuff that I can substitute. So, but yeah, that's coming up. I was looking at 1,500 points per player. And I was also thinking about 300 points for experience. So to unlock a skill, it costs 50 points. People would still have to purchase their equipment at regular experience. And then they would get to decide where they want to put those points. Right?
Okay.
So what it does is it essentially, in my head, what it does is you're playing Tank War, and normally when you play Tank War, you actually have no points until you start actually playing a few games and, killing stuff and surviving and this and that. Well, for a one-day event, here's some experience points people can start playing with. People can start actually trying out the skills.
Totally.
Right? And then possibly next year go into like maybe an actual campaign or league for Tank War, right? Now going forward, Tank War isn't just necessarily all tanks. So the 1,500 points, the objective or the mission, I may put in stipulations where it can only be held by infantry. So you're forced to build a list that has some infantry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just gives it a interesting look on the board, so it doesn't look like World of Tanks or whatever, with just all tanks, even though it is Tank War. But well, you know what I mean, right? So the other thing too that I was thinking about is, do I keep it, Axis versus Allies, or do I do mixed teams?
Oh, it has to be Axis versus Allies.
And I think majority of people will go that route. It's just a matter of now finding what era to play. So, just 1,500 points. I mean, it's a lot of points to play with, but you start taking a lot of large tanks. You're not, you're going to not have a lot on the board. You'll have a fair bit, but not a lot if other guys kind of go more of the medium route, right? So, but it allows people to play with their toys, like, depending on era and whatnot. If you have some tanks that you've rarely ever got to field because they're too expensive, or you just haven't,
Tiger.
Yeah, you just haven't. Well, yeah, you just haven't played that time frame or whatever. This would be kind of an event of doing that, but still got to chat with Jason about it and his thoughts and whatnot. So, but it's coming up. I think November 19th. I got to make a post and event details and all that stuff. So that'll be coming shortly for any locals that are listening. So, but yeah,
even if you're not local, drive on up.
Yeah.
Send Andy a email.
Yeah. I'm gonna source out some. There probably will be a cost to this one this time around, but I'll look into prizes and support for it. I've got some stuff that I've been looking at that's will be good for, I think, all the players. So little tidbits and stuff like that I've came across, and then of course probably either some kits or fair size gift card kind of thing. So we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I don't know, I'm looking for probably about 10 players or so. 8 to 10.
Sweet.
Would be good size. But yeah, events like that will probably be the last event for this year, just locally, and then to plan for next year, right? So which will be the big there will be a Trident Wargaming event with bolt action for sure to kick off stuff, and then I will also finally probably running the campaign. So
nice.
It'll be a lot of prep work for doing that kind of stuff. It'll be busy. So, but of course I'll be talking with guys and getting input, and also sharing on the podcast with everybody, taking pictures and showing what I'm working on, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, that was pretty good. Little hobby chat. What's going on? All that stuff.
What's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Nothing. Because of our hobby.
Yeah, exactly. But if you guys enjoy the episode, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out our pictures on Instagram, Facebook. We always post every week, multiple times. I got to get more bolt action on there, though. So, but yeah, if you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. If you have ideas for armies, what you're looking into, please comment and let us know. Even if you have lists you want to take a look at and see if ideas around it, or your thoughts on units that maybe are not used that often that you like, because it's a cool army. That'd be cool to hear about too. So, but
how did you start your army? That would be a cool.
Yeah.
Your last army that you built. How or why did you pick that? Well, how did you come to that conclusion? I'd like to read that.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be really good, actually. Because yeah, everybody's. It's funny because the groups are fairly different, right? And it'd be nice to get the responses for that to see, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, totally.
But thanks again, Jason, for jumping on.
No worries.
As always. I'm sure he'll be bugging me for a certain Matilda here right away. But thanks for joining, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.